Hi folks, time for a gear update. My last gear video was done just prior to the COVID crisis, which, not unlike the many of the rest of you, led to me postponing my hike until 2021. Since that time, I've taken a few more shakedown hikes and made a few adjustments to my setup, so before I hit the trail, I thought I'd give you an update as to my changes. First up, my belt pouches. I had initially purchased two belt pouches from Z-Packs for my Arc Blast pack. They're both difficult, though not impossible to access when hiking, so I removed one of them and replaced it with a new product from Z-Packs, the FUPA. That stands for Front Utility Pack Accessory, but when I told my son that, he cracked up laughing. I won't go into why here, but feel free to Google FUPA if you need to, and you'll understand his sense of humor. All funny business aside from Z-Packs, he says there's no way they didn't know what FUPA stood for. I proudly wore my FUPA on a recent section hike, and it was far more useful than the belt pouches. It's on its own waistband, so it can easily be slid off to one side when hiking, then rotated to the front for easy access. It holds far more than a belt pouch. It is made of the same waterproof material and weighs just 2 ounces more than a single belt pouch. I did keep one pouch attached to the pack to hold certain items that don't need frequent access to, but it makes for good storage. Next up, the knee wrap. I'd hiked at least 150 miles prior to my last gear video, and I hadn't experienced any knee problems, but on a hike in October, I tweaked it slightly on a downhill, and for the next 48 hours, I had to be very careful to avoid the pain on the outside of my right knee. At the Walgreens in Hiawassee, I purchased a knee wrap and wore it for the next 5 days. It was incredible and solved the problem. I decided to bring it on the big hike as a precaution. Might even wear it preemptively for the first few 100 miles or until I feel like I've earned my trail legs. Next up, a video camera. New to my electronic category is a DJI Osmo Pocket. I tested it out on that same section hike and learned to edit the videos on my phone using KineMaster as an editing program. I'm going to attempt to YouTube the big hike, so wish me luck. It's very compact, easy to operate, and fits nicely in my FUPA. I added a clamp so it mounts to my pack strap, so in cases where I just want to turn it on and let it run while hiking, it'll be a hands-free video. It has a built-in gimbal, so it does quite well in eliminating the camera shake that sometimes has me reaching for Dramamine when watching other hiking videos. My start date. I've set my start date to begin March 23rd, about 2 weeks earlier than I'd planned for last year. That fits smack between two of the biggest bubbles of start dates, March 15th and April 1st. Ideally, I'd like to be behind all the bubbles, as I've discovered I'm not a fast hiker as much as I am a steady hiker. I don't want to be overrun by a faster crowd and prefer to stay out of their way, but the earlier date will give me a tad more time to complete the hike within a reasonable amount of time at my speed. March date, however, has me hiking in colder weather than previously planned, and that brings me to my next gear change. I've decided to add a sleeping bag liner. I'm not using a sleeping bag. I'll still be using my 20-degree Revelation quilt from Enlightened Equipment, but I expect to camp in the snow with potential temps that are far lower, so I thought a bit more protection from the cold might be in order. I bought an 8-ounce Sea to Summit Compact Reactor Plus Thermo Light Mummy Liner. That's a mouthful. This is advertised to add an additional 20 degrees of warmth, getting me down to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Now keep in mind, these degree ratings from manufacturers are not comfort ratings, they're survivability ratings, so I'll still be quite cold, but I won't die. Next up, toiletries. In my October shakedown hike, I learned a very painful lesson. My last gear video, I'd expressed my intentions of not bringing wet wipes, but instead would be simply wetting my toilet paper before wiping whenever I felt it was necessary. Sounded good in theory. Well, it works fine most of the time, but the one time it doesn't might leave you shuffling stiff-kneed for several miles in a frantic search for a secluded spot to do a little tail maintenance, and it won't be pretty. It happened to me, and that evening I shuffled into Hiawassee and immediately stopped at Walgreens for wet wipes and Vaseline. Did you know they make Vaseline in tiny little containers for women to put in their tiny little purses, and they call it lip therapy? It even comes in a variety of colors and flavors. It's perfect for hikers, but utilized in a very, very different geographic location. I prefer creme brulee. I added both wet wipes and Vaseline to my gear list that very night, which leads me to my last gear addition, the portable bidet. Now, I've seen many hikers tout the advantages of using these bidets, and some have gone so far as to totally eliminate paper products altogether. Well, I'm not quite there yet. But who knows, after a few months in the woods I might be. This thing only weighs about 3/4 of an ounce and easily fits on a smart water bottle for all you smartasses like myself. Did I mention my ass is older than zip codes? For now, I'll be bringing all the resources: toilet paper, wet wipes, Vaseline, and a bidet, and learning along the way which combination I'm most comfortable with. But suffice it to say, there are very few pains that can rival the uncomfortable feeling of not securing a clean wipe before hiking miles on end, literally. And you mothers out there can just hold your speeches. I've been married for 35 years and I'm well informed that a man could never endure the pain of childbirth. You win. But with 2 T's, my chafed bunghole gets an honorable mention, okay? So that's it. My gear changes increase my total weight by about 22 ounces, but all of it will have a positive effect on the comfort level of my hike, and that's very important to me. Click the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks for watching. Happy trails and happy tales.